Hello everyone and welcome to Neurocooking. This video is for anybody out there who is experiencing winter blues or depression or anxiety or just generally feeling stress chronically. So today we will understand why food actually have a huge impact in your life and what you can do to help your system support yourself. So there are a few causes to why we're depressed. Some of these are environmental. They can be life shocks. We're mourning the loss of a friend or a family member. We're changing job or country, or even early life events such as abuse or neglect and so on. There are also other physiological factors such as genes. Some genes are involved in depression. But one thing that is common amongst all people that are experiencing low mood is actually stress. Stress has a huge impact not only on the way you perceive your environment, but also in a system that is called endocrine system. And actually, I want to talk today to you about the HPA axis. The HPA axis is the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. So that means it's a sort of highway between the brain and the adrenal cortex in the adrenal glands. Those glands actually receive a message, where an abnormal message in the case of stress condition, and they end up releasing a lot of steroid hormone. This steroid hormone, like glucocorticoids, there is one in particular that is called cortisol. Now, many of you, I know that cortisol is the so-called stress hormone. Now, really, cortisol is a very useful hormone. It's like a red flag for the sympathetic nervous system. What that means is that we are made for survival. So in the situation in which a lion is running after us, well, we can either fight or flight, and that's the moment in which we release cortisol, because this is really going to help our system to, for example, accelerate our heart rate. Our heart rate is going to increase, so we're going to pump much more blood into our muscles so we can fight or flight. The problem is that when we sustain chronic levels of stress, and so we release chronically high levels of cortisol, clearly our sympathetic nervous system is not made to be activated at this rate for a prolonged period of time. So the fact that our heart rate is increasing because we are on a due deadline at work is just gonna make us feel much worse. It's just gonna make us feel much more anxious, and so it's gonna just loop back again on the anxiety and that we already experienced. There are other stuff that the cortisol do. For example, one of the things that happens when cortisol is pretty high is that we do need high levels of sugar that goes to our muscles, and in order to have that situation, we have much higher levels of glucose in the plasma. That not only means a lot of work, more extra work for the liver, but it also means that really unbalances the levels of glucose that go to your brain. Now, if you think about it, your brain, it's actually the only organ that only feeds on glucose. So the best thing you can do for your brain is maintaining really steady states of levels of glucose. And the way you do that actually is by eating slowly releasing carbohydrates, such as fruit is a great one because it has great level of glucose and it's readily digestible, and it doesn't spike insulin. So you're not going to have peaks of craziness of glucose. There are several studies showing actually a correlation between peaks of glucose and then peaks of insulin, and irritability, anxiety, nervousness, agitation, sleep problems, even blurred vision, excessive sweating, and so on. And these are actually all features of when we're feeling low and when we're feeling down. So if you can, please avoid refined sugars by all means, because that's just going to increase even more the problem that the high levels of cortisol are already creating. So instead of that, instead of going for something with refined sugars inside, go for fruit or go for whole grains. These are absolutely great sources. I'm just gonna quickly go through. We have we have a few other things that can actually help you decreasing the levels of cortisol in your body. One of these is magnesium. Magnesium, you don't need to take it in tablet. You can just eat a lot of spinach. That's really a good source of magnesium, and that's directly going to inhibit the high level of cortisol. Another one, it's a phospholipid, it's called phosphatidylserine, and it's contained in something like barley or beans. Again, great sources of carbs, so keep them going. Pretty much any antioxidant is going to be great on your system and on lowering the levels of cortisol, in particular vitamin C and beta carotene. Think anything that goes from broccoli, cantaloupe, blueberries. Really, there is a large choice that you have in there. And then obviously not just food. Don't forget dark chocolate too. That's also great at decreasing cortisol. So until 40 grams of dark chocolate a day, it's a good option. But there are also other stuff that you can start to do in your lifestyle that will definitely help lowering your levels of cortisol. So maybe you can start trying introducing that as well. Sunlight is a good one. If you don't have access to sunlight, maybe because it's winter time right now, try with little exercise. Any type you enjoy. Sex is one. Meditation could help as well. So there are a few things that you can do before starting to take in with the meds. There is an additional 2 things I would like to talk to you. It's that the cortisol, because it's activating the sympathetic nervous system and because it's activating this fight or flight response, it's clearly going to send us in a saving energy mode. And one of the best way to save energy in the moment we are running away from a danger, immediate danger, it's actually not investing energy in our immune system. So with high level of cortisol, we completely shut down the immune system. It's not a case that when you're depressed, you're actually much more likely to get a cold. I really recommend that you start to integrate with foods that will support anti-inflammatory activity. The best one, I'm talking omega-3 fatty acid here, and the best one it's EPA vs DHA. You can find it in seaweed, for example. Or again, inflammation, it's going to have a direct impact on your brain as much as stress, inflammation. They're pretty much having a highly deteriorating role on your brain, especially in a tiny area of your brain that is called hippocampus. That area has been shown from several studies that in patients with chronic depression, it's actually decreased. So that's why memory and concentration are so weak these days. And so please remember to support your brain function with decreasing your level of a neurotoxin. It's called homocysteine, and you can do that by uptaking a lot of vitamin B's, B6, folic acid, zinc, something like avocados, asparagus for zinc, for example, cashew nuts. There's lots of things that you can consume that will definitely decrease your homocysteine levels, not only decreasing your immediate symptoms of moodiness, but this is actually a key factor for something like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's. So you want to keep this down so that your brain works better. One of the things that has been shown from a lot of study is that intercommunication between the neurons in the brain due to chronic stress, it's completely inhibited. Something that is called dendrites go in a sort of atrophy. So when you feel completely under the blanket and completely stuck in your place, that's because your neurons are stuck. They really provoke stagnant thinking. They can't interconnect one to each other, so you need to provide them the tool to start to talk to each other and get yourself out of that condition. As I was saying before, maintaining steady levels of glucose, it's really going to help to release efficiently serotonin. Serotonin, most of you know it as the happy neurotransmitter, is not just controlling our mood, but it's also controlling our sleeping patterns and our eating patterns. So it's really, really critical that you make sure that you can produce enough serotonin. Now, many antidepressant drugs work on serotonin. What we want to do, what I would like you to do, is to try to incorporate more foods containing tryptophan, which is the building block. It's an amino acid. It is the building block from which you're going to convert it into serotonin and then secrete serotonin. Something like oatmeal, bananas, or a good source of protein like soy or spirulina. All of these foods are actually containing good levels of tryptophan, and it's really going to support you. I hope this video was useful, and if this can help you to stay away from prescription medication, then I think my job was done for today. Have a good rest of your day, and remember that if you like this, we have much more coming for this new year.